How's everyone doing? It's Dollar Tree $1 Blu-ray time again. That's right, the Dollar Tree had some more $1 Blu-rays and DVDs, and I picked up a bunch. My local Dollar Trees never seem to have the Blu-rays, so I only got a few Blu-rays, so even though I said, you know, Dollar Tree $1 Blu-ray time, it's mostly $1 DVD time, but still some interesting titles, a bunch of stuff that I haven't seen. In fact, I don't know if I've seen any. I think I've seen like one of these out of all of these right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbag these. Yeah, my local one usually has like a terrible selection, the one like right down the road from me. So I went to another one not too far and picked up a few more. That's where they had more Blu-rays, but they had mostly like a ton, like 20 of the same title. So that was the only thing that was kind of disappointing. And then a lot of the ones that they had were ones that I had no interest in or I already had. So let's go ahead and get into it though. If you've seen these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them. And it blows my mind. I mean, this has been happening for like at least 3 years now, maybe more than that, where the Dollar Trees had $1 Blu-rays. And I remember getting dollar Blu-rays at Blockbuster, and I thought that was mind-blowing at the time when they were closing down. I got a whole ton of the dollar Blu-rays, so I never thought that a lot of these ones are new. I mean, they're all new. So those were, the Blockbuster ones were used ones. So I never thought, you know, you'd get dollar Blu-rays, but it's still happening. So let's go ahead and get into, here's the stack. I didn't count how many were in here, but a good healthy stack right there. So let's go ahead and get into it. First up is Strangeland, which I picked up on Blu-ray. Has Hugo Weaving, Joseph Fiennes, and Nicole Kidman. I think this might be set in Australia because I know Nicole Kidman and Hugo Weaving are from Australia. And it's about the two kids who are Nicole Kidman and Joseph Fiennes. Two teenage kids go missing, and they're just trying to find out what happened. Kind of a mystery film, and emotionally gripping, it says in the back. And I'm not a big Nicole Kidman fan. She kind of reminds me a bit of Kim Basinger. Both of them kind of had that same blank stare. I don't think they really show a lot of emotion. Oftentimes it seems like they're on Valium or have really bad Botox. They don't really kind of evoke much emotion at all. So yeah, on the back here it says Kidman is a force to be reckoned with. That's one of the blurbs. I find that hard to believe because she always, you know, has that kind of blankness, that numbness in the face look. Hugo Weaving though, I'm really excited for. Big fan of his. So looking forward to checking this one out. It's mostly for that, and again, hopefully it has an Australia setting. I'm not sure. Chris Evans in Puncture. This is apparently based on a true story. I guess he's a functioning drug addict lawyer who decides to take up a case where somebody who works in a hospital gets infected with a needle right there. So it sounds interesting. Looks like it's going to be a mixture of emotional drama and courtroom drama. So looking forward to that one. Next up is What Maisie Knew. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. It looks like it's going to be a heartfelt family movie with parents battling over custody of the child. So maybe a tearjerker right there. We'll see. Next up is Nicolas Cage in Stolen, where he is a thief who gets double-crossed, and it looks like there's going to be action and gunfights. 12 hours, 10 million, one kidnapped daughter. Okay, so he gets his daughter kidnapped. He has to come with 12 million. All right. We've seen this kind of plot before from Nicolas Cage right there. I feel like he's in so many bad, terrible movies that just keep getting thrown out there. Some are okay, but I'm getting kind of tired of it. Next up is Good Neighbors. I know this does have a Blu-ray release, but for $1, why the heck not? This has Jay Baruchel, Scott Speedman, and Emily Hampshire. This was, I believe, filmed in Canada, snowy setting, which I love movies with the snowy setting. On the front it says a twisted film noir, which I would definitely agree with that. That's a good description, and I like the twist that they did towards the end. I kind of wanted a little bit more from it, but still one that I'm happy to add to the collection and looking forward to revisiting it. That's I think it's the only one I've seen in here, so there you go. Next up is Tortured, which I've never heard of this one before. Lawrence Fishburne, I'll pretty much watch anything he's in. I like James Cromwell too. Cole Hauser's decent. But this one seems like, it kind of reminds me of the movie Unthinkable with Samuel L. Jackson, just kind of the setup. I guess they're deep undercover and a criminal organization, and an FBI agent has to use extreme methods to prove himself. Maybe not so much. Maybe I was thinking of a more interrogation scene. But this is another concept that I feel like we've seen before too, but I figured we'd give it a chance. And this girl, I can't remember her name, but she's been in a bunch of stuff. I think she was in the Entourage show and movie. She's stunning, so yeah, props for her. You know, I wish she was more of a main part of the film. Looks like she is just kind of like a side character. Next up is Good People. This has James Franco, who I am not a fan of. I used to be a fan of him. I thought he had a lot of talent. Then ever since 127 Hours, he just went downhill for me. Especially the Oscar host, co-host. I thought that was just utterly terrible. The worst Oscar hosting I've ever seen. And Anne Hathaway did her best to hold the whole thing together. Props to her. But yeah, it just seemed like he was uninterested, possibly on drugs. I don't know what was going on. But ever since then, I really haven't been a fan of stuff that he's done. So it just seemed to go downhill. And he's one of those people where, like, you know, he starts to, you know, he writes a poem. All of a sudden, he's a poet. You know, he does one thing, and all of a sudden, he's that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit ridiculous. And I haven't been a big fan of a lot of the stuff that I've seen him do directing-wise either. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm gonna give this one a chance, though. I do like Kate Hudson. Looks like they have some good supporting cast in here. They're a young couple who falls into severe debt while renovating a home in London. Then they find out the tenant below, who was murdered, left $400,000 in cash stashed in the ceiling. So they think they can, you know, get all their problems solved by that, but there's people obviously after the money as well. So innocence, greed, desperation. Next up, Are You Here? Which on the front cover, it looks like Owen Wilson is rolling a joint. I could be mistaken though, but that's what it appears to be. And this reminds me of an old love seat and a sofa that I used to have. It was my parents', and I brought it back to my fraternity house back in the day. And it had like that same color, you know, one of those older kind of like 80s vibe going on there. And Zach Galifianakis and Amy Poehler. Zach Galifianakis is somebody who lived off the grid, and he gets his estranged father's whole fortune, but Amy Poehler is trying to do like a legal case to get it, and then Owen Wilson is a weatherman, a local womanizing weatherman that tries to help Zach Galifianakis out. Nice slipcover to it, but it looks like it could be, you know, some romance and some buddy comedy aspect going on there. I'm not a big Zach Galifianakis fan, but I'm not a big Luke Wilson fan either, or Owen Wilson. Whatever. I like Luke Wilson better than Owen Wilson, but Amy Poehler, I dig her. She's cool. Sometimes a lot of her movies go a little bit over the top with the raunchiness. Upside Down. This has Jim Sturgis and Kirsten Dunst in it, and I'm not a big Kirsten Dunst fan either, but I like the concept of this one. I heard a lot of people praise this movie, especially the visuals. So I guess it's basically about different worlds that are, you know, one is above and another is below, and there's like this weird gravitational freak thing. So there's people actually living like above you, like walking. It seems so bizarre, and it's also like I guess a film about classism too, where she's rich and he's poor, and they have a romance, you know, a forbidden classic, you know, classism romance going on right there. But heard good things about it, so I figured I'd pick that one up. Next up, some horror right here. Visitors. This looks like a theme that we've seen tons of before. Looks like maybe they're on a trip around the world on a sailboat, and I guess cabin fever sets in, and then they start to go crazy. Perhaps there's possibly ghosts. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. I'm giving this one a chance. I've never heard of it before, but I kind of dig these kind of movies. We've seen a bunch of them before, but I always get intrigued. One that I think is kind of underrated is Triangle. I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but oh, I love how it comes together at the end. Ghost Ship was another one that was decent. There's a few other ones back in the day too that did the same kind of concept. Mr. Nobody, which I've heard of before, I've always wanted to check out, with Jared Leto, Sarah Polley, a few other recognizable people in here. It looks really bizarre and interesting. It's the story about this guy who's a 118-year-old man who's the last immortal on Earth after the human race has achieved quasi-immortality. So on his deathbed, I guess he shares the story of his life. So that's pretty intriguing to me. And I recently read an article that in the next 50 years, the average lifespan could be like 200, given, you know, medical science and stuff like that, and just everything that's changed in the world. All the different new safety precautions, and the possibility of, you know, the self-driving cars becoming more mainstream, avoiding accidents, all these kind of things they were taking into consideration. So I think that's really intriguing because it kind of ties into that a little bit. And plus, there's so much they can do with regrowing organs, and that's all science stuff that, you know, who knows what will happen in the future with all that. But I like the concept a lot. And I'm a big fan of Jared Leto. I think he's a fantastic actor. And it's great to see him getting his due and, you know, getting recognized for his talents. I remember first seeing him on the MTV show My So-Called Life. I never would have thought he would have gone on to such prominence, become such a great actor. He's had small roles in such great films like American Psycho, Fight Club, things like that, but he's also had great leading roles too. And so I'm looking forward to checking that one out. Next up is Prince Avalanche, which looks like it's going to be a super quirky one. I noticed a lot of Magnolia titles are in here. There's another Magnolia one. This is the extended director's cut, by the way, for Mr. Nobody. So a lot of Magnolia titles, which I'm kind of surprised about because they're a decently big company. So yeah, this one looks like it's going to be really quirky, and you know, they're working on like a road, and it's set in the summer of 1988. You know, repainting traffic lines in a desolate country highway where there's a lot of wilderness and stuff like that. Yeah, so Paul Rudd and Emile Hirsch, I'm a big fan of both of them. Emile Hirsch in Into the Wild is one of my all-time favorite movies. Great performance from him, about the story of Christopher McCandless. But Paul Rudd's always entertaining to me. So both of these were the reason that really drew me in for this movie. I'll give pretty much any movie that they're in a chance. Next up is an older movie, That Old Feeling, with Bette Midler and Dennis Farina, who passed away, I think, like a couple of years ago now. And this is directed by Carl Reiner, and obviously a great director too. But this is basically a wedding from hell just sparked a match made in heaven. So it's going to be a romantic comedy right here. So yeah, it says it was the perfect wedding except for two things: the bride's parents. So it looks like it's going to be, you know, lots of arguing, and then they come together in the end and fall for each other again, perhaps. Yeah, they're divorced 14 years, so yeah, they're gonna have lots of arguments, and you know, find out at the end that they still care about each other. That's what I'm assuming. But this is one of the older titles there. This was, when I mean older, not too much older, but this is from 1998. So all the other ones I think are, you know, mostly newer stuff. So there you go. Those are all the Dollar Tree pickups right there, each $1 a piece. So I figured for $1 I'd give some ones a chance. It's a lot of blind buys. And I always get the question, why do you buy movies you haven't seen before? Which is such a freaking idiotic question. Why do you go to the movie theater and see movies you haven't seen before? Why do you buy movies on demand that you haven't seen before? To watch a movie that you haven't seen, to see if you like it or not. Mind-blowing. And especially for, you know, buying physical media, especially for $1. I mean, you could sell it and trade it if you don't like it, or you can keep it in your collection and watch it whenever you want, and have it on, you know, on hand. Netflix is constantly changing their library, losing rights, so I always like having physical media. In the same way with books. Yeah, I don't really enjoy streaming or anything like that. So I'm definitely happy for $1 a piece. It's well worth the risk. Even Redbox is more than $1. I think it's like what, $1.40 something to rent a movie per night. So you can keep these for as long as you want. You can sell them, trade them, whatever you do if you don't want them. But yeah, I'm very pleased and looking forward to checking these ones out. Let me know if you've seen these movies and what you think of them, and which was the best or most interesting one out of this lot to you. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.